Scott, I guess, sorry. We've done quite a few Grand Prix over the years, but I mean, this one kicking off, I don't know, it seems like an awfully deep field. Is this one especially exciting for you?
I tell you, this is going to be, I think, arguably the greatest lightweight tournament in the history of MMA. I mean, you guys saw the gauntlet of fighters that are going to be in this tournament, and I think there's 2 or 3 dark horses that could upset a lot of these other fighters, and it's going to depend on, how they perform under pressure. But I'm really excited about this first night of fights because Shabli and Masayev, they're killers, and Benson, Benson's been around a long time, but he's still got it. The guy's going to be scrappy, and he's going to be in Usman's face. He's going to put a lot of pressure on him, and let's see how Usman handles that pressure. So I would say this tournament is super exciting. This might be the best tournament we've hosted yet to date, and it's going to be a year long of just great matchups, and I can't wait to see who the finalists are in the last 2.
Can you talk about putting the field together, right? Because some of the names in the field, like the casual fan might not be familiar with them, right? So you might be tempted to get somebody that, maybe is more of a household name, but these are just actual killers that you're pulling from around the world. So I guess, does that speak to the change of maybe where Bellator's going, that you're bringing this international talent?
Yeah, absolutely. And think about it, if you think about like the moves that we've made, we're investing in the AJ McKees and the younger fighters, and we say goodbye to Fedor, and there's going to be some goodbyes to some other fighters that have been here for a while, and they'll always be part of the family. But this is a business where you need constant talent, and those young guys that we have coming up are the future of this company. I guarantee you, after this tournament's over, everybody's going to know all these guys because they're all really, really good. So, to me, it's a changing of the guard right now. I can feel it, I see it, and it's something that's good for the company. And really looking forward to the matchups.
Well, that's the thing when I asked about the Grand Prix. I know sometimes you get some flack for saying it, but I mean, a guy that comes out of this and runs the table might have a claim as being the best lightweight on the planet. Right?
You know what? Honestly, come on, how could you deny that? And the guy is not going through 1, 2. He's going through 3 fights in a 1-year period of the fighters of this quality. He's got to be the best lightweight. And listen, I've talked to Dan Lambert, who's the best 185 in the world right now. Johnny Eblin, he'll tell you. And he fights for Bellator. Who's the best 170? Amosov, right? These guys, I don't think they get the respect they deserve, but I'm telling you right now, they are the best fighter. We are the best 205 in Nemkov. We're the best 185 in Eblin. We got the best 170 pounder. And then to me, the gauntlet is here. We'll see at the end of the year who comes out number 1. And even below that, we have below that to fight anybody at 45. So, listen, this is an amazing roster. It's taken about 5 years to build it, but now we're locked and loaded and ready to go.
And I'll just ask one last question overall, because you say it's best in the world, best in the world. Do you ever hope there is a day that all organizations will compete against each other, or have you let that go and just realize that's just never going to happen, and we just got to worry about our brand?
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, we wake up and focus on our business, right? But should it happen one day? It definitely should happen one day. And it was not us stopping it, right? And when it does happen, hopefully one day, it'll be big. And it'll be not just us or not just the UFC, but it'll be ONE FC, and it'll be everybody rising, everybody all over the world. Let's put together a World Cup, a true World Cup, not an intramural World Cup, and let's get it on.
Talk about how deep the field is in the tournament. You've got a champ who's 25-1 as a favorite in some places, like 18.
Oh, really? Wow.
Honestly, it's kind of baffling that it's against somebody of the quality of Benson. So, I mean, can you talk about that? And is that more of a reflection of how good Usman is than a slight against Benson by the odds right now?
Listen, do not underestimate Benson Henderson. This guy is going to bring it. He knows that this is the 4th quarter for him, and he's had a great run for a long time. But one thing about Benson, man, you cannot underestimate his spirit and his will, and he's going to put pressure like I don't think Usman has seen pressure like that before. And I think that when you talk about the betting line, I didn't even know, but I think that's really not a good indication of where the fight is. To me, it's going to be, can Usman handle that pressure, constant pressure? Because I know Usman's going to move. He's going to use his kicks. He's going to move side to side, but Benson's seen it all. He's done it all. There's nothing that Usman can do that he hasn't seen.
I guess to put that in comparison, Benson was like a 6-1 underdog against Nurmagomedov. And
okay.
Now Usman's 25-1.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the kid has a lot of talent. He's super talented. Comes from a lineage of, legends, right? Trains at the gym of legends here in town. And he is an amazing fighter to me. Until he gets beat, to me, he's the best in the world. And you saw, you've seen him fight so far, and you could take a sample size, but he's only going to get better and better. And he's, 25, 26 years old? He's a young kid. and you know, he was number 1 on ESPN's you know, under 25. So he has a lot of hype on him, a lot of, you know, ink on him, and you know, he's got to step up and do it now.
You talked about sort of changing of the guard. There may be some fighters that have been here for a while that are going to move on, maybe into retirement, maybe into other organizations. Do you have any updates on stuff like that as it regards to, say, Chris Cyborg? I mean, is she going to be back with you guys? Are you guys still talking? Is this the end of the line for her with you?
Chris Cyborg, I still have a lot of faith in Chris Cyborg. I still think she can get it down with anybody on the planet at her weight class. So to me, you know, I told Ray we would talk next week, so we're going to continue talking. And, you know, I'm hopeful that we'll get a deal done because I would love to have her on the roster.
If you can't get it done, will you keep 145 around in the women's division, or would you settle into something else and maybe? I
mean, listen, that's something we actually talked about internally, right? But I mean, Chris is a big piece of that. We just haven't made that determination yet. I do think we have a lot of talent at 145, and so let those girls fight and let's see how it goes. I mean, Kat fighting Leah is a big matchup at the end of this month in Temecula there. So let's see how that goes, and then we'll take it case by case or month by month. But you know, Chris is, you know, she is the, you know, the pinnacle of that division, right? And I don't mean just here, I mean everywhere. And it's too bad. Like if these fights happen, you know, between the leagues, then you could have Amanda Nunes come fight Chris Cyborg, and you could have, you know, Kayla in the mix, you know, and hopefully that will happen one day.
You got to see that. Were you at the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I was.
How was it?
Yeah, it was. Well, excuse me. It seemed that my 49ers couldn't be there because of the injury. And it's it was a tough pill to swallow, believe me. But you know, it was a great game. That's what I can say. It was a great game. And I was talking to Bert because Bert is a big Philadelphia fan, right? So when he beat the crap out of my Niners, he let me have it a little bit. He was like, you know, I said, hey, just come out to the game. Let's go hang out. He was busy, but you know, the game was, and then I was texting him after the game going, oh man, sorry about that. He's like, give me about 3 weeks. I'll be all right. But it was a great game.
And I mean, speaking of injuries, unfortunately, lost a couple on this.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask specifically about Carrie Melendez, because she hasn't fought in a while. And just what exactly happened? Can you share? And is she okay? Going to try and get back in there soon?
You know, that's something that you should probably just ask her directly, because I don't want to talk about her injuries, right? I did talk to Gilbert yesterday. They will be coming to the fight. Okay. So maybe you could just speak to her, you know, pull her aside. But she does want to come back right away. So I would say the next 2 or 3 months we'll probably rebook her, depending on how she's feeling. But she's somebody that's super talented that I feel like we can still get behind. We just need her to stay healthy. Right. That's all.
You think you'll do the same fight or somebody else?
I'd like to do the same fight. Yeah, let's run it back. Mm-hmm.
Cool. I know, speaking of just kind of the other elements and the World Cup making something real, I've noticed, like, going back to maybe 2019-ish, this isn't a head-to-head weekend with you and the UFC, like, different days, but there have been times where you have had events on the same days, and typically, your guys' cards are a lot more stacked and objectively better in terms of the depth. Okay. I'm just wondering, has that been intentional at all in those cases, or is it just how things kind of...
I think it's just kind of how things played out. I mean, listen, you know, they've had some great cards too recently, and I've tuned in, I watched, and it's, you know, it's fun. I'm still an MMA fan, and it's fun to watch those cards. But you know, we have our own business, and I don't even know their schedule really. So they're kind of doing their thing, and we're kind of doing our thing. It just played out this way, where, you know, some of our bigger fights haven't had you know, let's say big pay-per-view fights on the same night. So I think it's good for both of us, you know, because then you could either buy pay-per-view or you know, watch it on Showtime. As people have choices, and you split the audience. I think that this way is good to, you know, get as much of the audience share as we can.
Definitely, and we saw Juan Archuleta going back to Rising for his next fight.
Yes.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How this? I'm sure he's asking for it. He's very happy with the last trip. Tell us to me about this a little bit. I
think Juan has his Japanese passport already. So he was a guy that went to Japan and just fell in love with the country. And I'm reading about him, you know, through the blogs or like the different. I think he stayed for like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. I mean, he really embraced the culture. He and I spent 2 nights walking around Tokyo and looking at the different temples and the different, you know, and he was just mesmerized. This was before the fight. Right. And so he stayed another 2 or 3 weeks, and the things that he was doing, I was like, man, I wish I could have been there. Like, this sounds. And I've been going to Japan for years, and he's out way out in the mountains, you know, making blades with the master swordsman and going hunting, and he's really embraced the culture, and I think they really appreciated it. So, we have a good relationship with Sakakibara. He asked me if we could have a Juan fight, and I said, we're going to have some announcements, and I think that division's be pretty busy for a while. So why don't we just have him fight for the belt? So if Juan wins in May, and then he continues on, his next fight will be for the title, the Rising belt. And then, he's still a Bellator fighter. He'll come back here, fight for the Bellator belt at some point in the year or beginning next year. But we'll keep him busy, and he'll fight in Japan, and he loves it there. I think they love him there. And, it's a good fit for everybody.
Yeah, awesome to see. And, I know you sat down with Sakakibara a little bit after the LA show, and we're doing some business, of course, and hanging out. Is there any things you can share about future plans for this year and any collaborations? I know, obviously, since you went to Japan last year, you're coming here this time.
I tell you guys, most of you guys, we've been in this business a long time, and I've seen the early days of Pride and the growth of Pride and then the sale of Pride, the beginning of K1, the ending of K1, and I feel like Japanese MMA is back. I feel when you're there and you can feel what you're feeling in that audience, and the fans are just like nobody's business, right? They're fanatic fans, but they love their fighters. They respect the fighters. They're very good about paying respect in a proper way. And to me, I feel like there's a swell that's growing there. And we want to be a part of it. We want to help out as much as I can. I've always felt like Japanese mixed martial arts or Japanese MMA or kickboxing, whatever it is this is kind of, to me, where it started, right? And so I want to help them as much as I can to keep Japan healthy. And so, if we can still throw a fighter here or two there, we do a co-promotion once a year. It's something I'm definitely going to support because, we have our own business to run. We're very busy too. And we have our tournament, we have a lot going on, and we're traveling all over the world too. And so we have our business. But if it's a fight, something that makes sense, we're going to go do it.
Too early on any plans you can share?
What's that now?
Too early on any plans you can share?
Talk to me next week.
Okay.
That means December again in Honolulu. April and December.
Listen, April and December might be a good time to be in Honolulu. I don't think that's where we're headed, but we're working on a couple of things that I think can be really a lot of fun.
Have you any updates on network television and CBS and whether that'll be more of a factor this year?
I know that we're going to be speaking to them, I think, in a couple of weeks. I think that, there's a lot of transition in the company right now, and so we're going to figure it out. But I'm hopeful and cautiously optimistic that we can have another run at it. But I would love it. But the last one came as a surprise, too. So when they call, you always say yes, and that's what we'll do if we get the call.
When it comes to saying yes, you've talked about having conversations with pretty much any free agent who's out there. Do you have any updates on any of that stuff? Particularly like Francis. If you had a conversation with Francis, is there a point where he'd be too expensive? Like, would he say a number and you'd go, well, we're not going to do that, so we're just going to
listen, my guys have been talking to Francis. I know they met. I know Steven met with him on the boxing side. I've always said that I think would be a perfect fit for him because he could do boxing, he could do MMA. But I don't think that, there's anything close to a deal being presented back and forth. So let's see what happens. Anything can happen, but I'm not sure that we're going to be in that business on the MMA side. Maybe for the boxing side it might work out, but to me it's like it has to be equitable for everybody, and that's how I feel. And there's we have a pretty robust purse amount every year, and we can spread that around. We can take a lot of that purse and pay our guys and sign other fighters and keep building divisions, right? So to me, it's like, I would say it's 50-50 at this point.
So speaking about signing new fighters, can I just get any words on your newest signing? I believe 4-time national champion Jordan Oliver.
I'll tell you, Danny, I'm not sure much about Jordan, but when's he?
I don't know his start date. It's from Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're looking at a couple other wrestlers too from Oklahoma right now. But if you're a top free agent and you come from a great wrestling background, you're a blue chip prospect. We're going to take a look at you, and when you come in the system, we're going to give you 4, 5, 6 fights to test yourself and see kind of where you're at. And then if you're ready for the next level, then we'll take that next step with you. But that's just going to be one of the beginning. That's not going to be the end. We're talking to a couple kids right now from Oklahoma that I think we're going to sign here in the next 3 weeks.
And I've noticed you brought Chael Sonnen on. Is there any role we can expect for him to play with Bellator?
Chael came on and he helped us promote the LA show, but it's not like a permanent role. But listen, when we have some collaborative ideas with Chael, I love it because he's just fantastic. He's entertaining and he's easy to work with, and I think you'll see us and Chael working together for a very long time.